Hi, I'm Emily Williamson. Welcome to Full Circle. We're here today to talk about sustainability and waste reduction and recycling and how to make eco-friendly holidays. And I have with me Susie Gordon. Welcome, Susie.
Thanks, Emily.
And Caroline Mitchell. Welcome, Caroline.
Thank you.
And you guys are with the Environmental Services Department at the City of Fort Collins, and you're responsible for our waste reduction and recycling programs. So how can people be more eco-friendly at the holidays? We'll just start with the big question. What are some things you can do to...
Well, everybody always thinks about the wrapping paper. I'm pretty sure that everybody knows that wrapping paper is recyclable in your curbside recycling bin. So, you know, just a reminder that when it comes time to unwrap the Christmas presents and get all the presents out of the boxes, that all of that material is recyclable. With the exception of metallic types of wrapping paper. Is that right, Caroline?
Yes, or ribbons and bows. Anything that's not paper shouldn't go in the recycling bin with the other paper materials. But one interesting fact about wrapping paper is that by weight, it's actually more clay and ink than it is paper. So it's a very low value paper. So an even better environmental choice, first step, certainly recycle any wrapping paper you have. But it's even a better environmental choice to use an alternative to wrapping paper. So if you use the comics from the paper or an old map or a calendar or even, bandanas or gift bags.
Gift bags are really great. Yeah.
Wrapping paper and tissue paper, there's certainly options. You can certainly recycle them as long as they don't have metallic items in them. But there are other choices as well.
I think I keep my gift bags year in and year out. They're very durable. And another option is a durable shopping bag. I mean, you could just buy some extra shopping bags and put a fancy bow on it. And then, you've got a bonus present throughout the year you can use for taking shopping.
Right. So, before the show, we were talking too, anything metallic on Christmas cards or stationery, you can't recycle. Is that correct in the system? So
yeah, it's best to just not recycle metallic coated items.
Yeah, it seems like a lot of the envelopes, you open them up now and there's kind of a shiny inside.
And sometimes I'll just oftentimes that doesn't extend into the entire envelope. Sometimes I'll just tear off the metallic part and recycle the rest of the envelope.
Okay, so that's an option. So we've covered materials.
Yeah, and then of course there's Christmas trees because what we decided was that like the 25th year that the City of Fort Collins has, offered a Christmas tree recycling program. And so once again, there'll be 4 drop-off locations that are available starting the day after Christmas and running through, I think, Martin Luther King's Day this year.
Yes, I think January 19th. Is that correct?
So, right.
And the 4 locations are Edora,
Roland Moore, Edora, the City Streets Department, and then there's a site in Wellington you can drop off if you live up on the north side of town.
Okay, so this program, the Christmas Tree Recycling Program, is in collaboration with Larimer County Landfill, or has been in the past.
Yeah, we've partnered with them for years on it.
Okay, so I hear this year we're doing something a little different. What is it we're doing?
Well, we're in the interest of just trying to do stuff a little differently. We are going to pile the trees up and chip them on site instead of putting them into large roll-off boxes and then transporting them to the landfill, which is where they normally got chipped up and turned into mulch. So the Forestry Department is going to help us with that, see if we can save some money and reduce our carbon footprint by fewer trips with those big trucks.
So what does that mean for me, Joe Citizen, going to drop off my tree at the recycling center? What do I do differently?
We'll be asking people to stack the trees with the ends facing in one direction so that way when the crews get there with their chipper, that they can just feed them into the equipment easily.
Okay.
Yeah, so hopefully the signage will be self-evident and it won't be too confusing.
And hopefully we'll get some additional carbon reduction savings out of that.
I think so. We're going to be watching that closely.
Yeah, that'll be interesting to see.
Yeah.
So what are some other things that people can do at the holidays? What are we usually doing this time of year? We're shopping, we're buying presents, we're wrapping. What are, other than not buying anything, what do we do?
Well, there are lots of locally manufactured products and goods, and we like to urge people to shop locally. It means that fewer goods are transported into Fort Collins, and so you're reducing on the fuel usage and that carbon footprint, but also contributing to the local economy and generating jobs.
That's right.
And it's also important to think about there are many gifts that aren't a tangible item, but that are still fantastic gifts. So the gift of an experience, whether it's movie tickets or, a few years ago, I actually gave the gift of a backpacking trip to my niece and nephew who'd never been backpacking before. Maybe some would debate whether that's actually an exciting gift. They were excited to go. But gifts of experiences or gifts of tickets to things are also a great low waste option that also really give you the time of quality time, the gift of quality time with your loved ones, which is oftentimes what we're actually seeking at the holidays anyhow.
Mm-hmm. And
A couple of other ideas that we talked about a little bit beforehand, Emily, is that the city's got a really wonderful payment assistant fund for people who are having trouble paying their utility bills. So it's something that if you want to perhaps honor the memory of somebody or honor the spirit of the holidays, it seems like that would be a really nice way to contribute. And then also there's a really wonderful nonprofit called Trees, Water, and People, and they do a lot of tree planting like in Central America, and they also do clean burning wood stove or cooking stoves. So a contribution to them might be a really, really thoughtful gift. They're also involved in some of the ecological conservation of the Poudre River watershed. So it seems like that's another thoughtful gift,
Yeah.
contribution like that.
Right. So are there other things that we can do as far as, we talked about our diversion rate and how we can recycle maybe some of these holiday-specific materials, but what are some other ways that people can, conserve at the holidays? Or you mentioned, water conservation. That's maybe not something this time of year, but that is, turning our heat down, or what are some other things?
Well, it seems like air quality is another important consideration during the winter. It's always worth reminding people that they shouldn't idle their cars. It's really not good for the car. It doesn't improve the car's engine, and it actually, they call them puffers. People leave their cars running. I know it's more comfortable to get into a warm car, but that's a really a good way to reduce vehicle emissions. And I think the wood burning stove program that the city offers, it's good. Go onto the website and learn a little bit about how to make sure if you're using your wood stove, to make sure you're burning clean, dry fuel. That's another. And then one last thought, I think that with the Max bus coming into town, what a great holiday tradition to start by taking the bus into Old Town or around town and doing your shopping. So
Right.
a couple of ideas.
That's true.
Will
At
help
least-
improve the air quality.
Yeah, Max is at least right along the city's spine as far as shopping. That's College is our principal shopping
I think it can be
district.
kind of a little family outing too.
Yeah.
Little kids love riding the Max.
Yeah, there is something fun about riding Max. I
Yeah.
don't know what it is, but I think
I
it's
have
the
it.
catchy name.
I have a 2.5-year-old who's absolutely obsessed with the Max bus. That is a gift in and of itself in our
there you
family to go ride the Max bus.
So you can spend a day of entertainment just riding the bus.
Oh my gosh, we
Yes.
do.
Our transportation team would love to hear that.
It's funny.
So two important things that you made me think of, I'm glad you mentioned. One is shopping Fort Collins and the importance of keeping our sales tax here in town, because those monies end up benefiting police, fire, other services happening in the city.
Sure, yeah.
But you also were talking about outdoor air quality, which made me think of our Healthy Sustainable Homes program, which is also offered through environmental services.
Right, and so if you're, for indoor air quality, and that's a really important thing to think about because we spend so much time indoors. The Environmental Services Program has a wonderful program that offers home audits, and you can take a look at our website and look at the Healthy Sustainable Homes Program and get in contact with them for a free audit of your household.
Yeah, I can tell you as somebody who's been through that program, it's hugely valuable. They will look in places in your home you never thought you had to worry about. Yes,
And come up with some
bathroom
good suggestions.
fans, and they're great suggestions. Just how to avoid fire hazards and how to improve the water circulation around your home, outside, and anyway, hugely great suggestions.
That also reminds me another way to sort of prevent waste or prevent issues during the holiday. Something that a lot of us don't necessarily think about is junk mail and the huge amount of resources, the trees and the transportation to get that mail to your home that can be prevented during the holidays. Since many people do a lot of shopping online or through catalogs, there are a few simple steps that you can take that really help prevent you from getting on those lists. It's the secret key to preventing junk mail, is to just not get on the mailing lists in the first place.
Right.
So one of them, as Susie was mentioning, there are a lot of great charities that we can donate to, and I recommend, if you do make a donation to a charity, just let them know that you'd only like to receive one donation request per year. Sometimes, depending on the charity, they can send request after request after request where you wonder where your finances actually went to. But if you just request to receive one mailing a year, or even get electronic responses from them, that can be a great step. Another great step is, if you do order something online or through a catalog, just request to not be added to their mailing list. Most retailers will have a mailing list generated of their customers, and then they sell those to other retailers. So you may start getting catalogs from someplace you've never heard of before because you purchased a material from another catalog. So just asking to not be included on those lists, and when you do receive something that's unwanted, just call that particular company, ask to be taken off their list, and it's amazingly effective if you sort of nip it at the bud.
Okay, good to know. But it doesn't prevent you from shopping online.
No,
It's
shop
just
shop
shop
away. Hopefully shop locally online.
Yes.
Shop away, just ask that they don't add you to those lists. That's
Right.
the only extra step.
Gotcha. Great.
A couple other things that occur to me that people often ask us around Christmas time is about used cooking oil, because a lot of people are deep frying turkeys these days. And so there are a couple of locations in town that accept used cooking oil. One is Habitat for Humanity on South Taft Hill Road, and the other is Eco Thrift here in Old Town at the corner of Maple and Howes. And then you can also take it to the Larimer County Household Hazardous Waste Facility, which is co-located with the landfill, or go to the City of Loveland's drop-off site if you live, close enough to the south end of town.
So how much how much are we talking? Like, are we talking a couple gallons, you save it up and then take it to recycling? What's a good threshold for knowing when to take your cooking oil to the...
Well, I mean, depends on how much you go through, but especially if you've deep fried something big, I think
turkey.
you end up with a couple gallons of oil, and
Yeah.
you probably don't want to keep that around. So.
And you don't want it going down your drain. and
Oh
you-
gosh, yeah, that's a really good point, Emily.
Yeah.
It really is bad for the sewer system. Coagulates in there.
Yeah, okay.
And one of the other items that people often ask about during the holidays is Christmas lights.
Yes.
Whether they're upgrading to the LED lights or you have the strand that isn't working anymore, those Christmas light strands can certainly be recycled. We have 3 scrap metal recyclers here in town. One is called RMB Recycling, one is called Aragon Iron and Metal, the other is Colorado Iron and Metal, but all 3 have said that they're happy to receive the Christmas lights, and you don't even have to take the bulbs off them, just bundle them up so they're not a big mess, and you can recycle them.
Yeah, it's got a lot of copper in the wire, and that's a pretty valuable material. So, yeah, that's a
Okay.
good point.
And we actually, the Environmental Services Department has put together a holiday recycling guide that is available on our website currently, fcgov.com/recycling, and it lists many of these materials that are they're often disposed of around the holiday times, and where they can be responsibly recycled. We also have this printed as an insert in the holiday guide at the Coloradoan. So any stands that are carrying that holiday guide are also a location to find this information.
And we've also printed in there a basic recycling guide, what you can normally recycle
This
around the
recycling
holidays.
guide?
Yes, that recycling guide. Yes.
She just happens
And
to have it with us.
Funny you should mention
Yeah.
this recycling guide. Yeah, this is our picture-based guide for all the different materials that can be recycled in your single stream bin on a regular basis. So these are materials to put in your curbside bin any time of the year. And if you ever have any questions that are more detailed than are on here, you can certainly reach us on our phone or through the website.
Okay, great.
And as long as you're reminding people the shameless pitch about our recycling drop-off facility,
Yes.
the city's drop-off recycling center is at 1702 Riverside, and it's open 7 days a week during daylight hours. And we really encourage people to get down there and check it out, and especially when you've got a lot of extra cardboard or something that's kind of you just want to get rid of it and all at once.
Yeah, and that's a good
Please stop by.
reminder
Yeah.
about cardboard. Speaking of cardboard, let's see, there's been an ordinance in place for a year that says it's against the law to not recycle cardboard, correct?
It's against the law to put your cardboard in the trash
Okay,
bin. So
that's a
you're
nicer
welcome
way
to
to say it.
reuse it. You're welcome to recycle it. You could even compost it if you'd like.
Okay.
The vast majority of people will recycle it. But that's a great point, Susie, because
Mm-hmm.
a lot of people have extra boxes and maybe a glut of the wrapping paper that they
Mm-hmm.
want to dispose of all at once instead of waiting for it to fit through their curbside recycling. So as Susie mentioned, you can take those materials 7 days a week during daylight hours for no charge to the city's drop-off center at the corner of Riverside and Prospect. The important thing to notice, though, is that the materials that are collected at the drop-off center are collected separately. So whereas at the curbside, all these different materials are collected in the same bin, pardon me, at the drop-off center, the containers are collected separately from the paper, which is collected separately from the cardboard. So if you separate those materials at home, it may be easier for you, take less time when you're at the recycling center.
So not single stream recycling. In other words, take your glass or your aluminum or your tin.
Well, you
whatever.
don't have to separate every separate container.
Okay.
So all of the plastics and the tin and aluminum, all of those materials will still go together.
Okay.
At the drop-off center, we do ask to keep the glass separate, and we actually recommend keeping it separate from your curbside recycling anyhow. The glass that's collected separately at the drop-off center is taken to a location in Denver called Rocky Mountain Bottling, where they turn it directly into glass bottles again.
Okay.
They get made into Coors beer bottles, so you can know
Okay.
exactly where your glass is going. But it's a great glass-to-glass recycling opportunity, and that glass can be recycled again and again and again into perpetuity.
Okay.
The glass that's collected in the single-stream recycling at your curbside, it is still used as a beneficial use, but because it is so broken apart and it gets mixed in with the rocks and the ceramics and all the other things in your curbside bin, it tends to be very difficult to separate out from those materials. So it's used in place of gravel as an engineering material at landfills. So it's not just put into the landfill, it is substituting gravel, but if you'd like your glass to be recycled into glass again, then the drop-off location at the recycling center is your best bet.
And those bottles have to be pure. They can't be cracked or broken, or does it matter? It's
No,
as long
it-
as the glass is separate
Right.
from. Okay.
Yeah, it'll often break as you put it in there anyhow. We recommend maybe don't use it as an anger management technique to break all your glass before you put it in there. The more whole the glass is, the easier it is for the bottling center to separate it out because they have a specific recipe they use to make their bottles. They need a certain amount of clear glass and a certain amount of different colors. So the more intact it is, the easier it is for them to separate it out. But if it breaks, it can certainly be used in the process.
Okay. The point is just not that it's just not contaminated with those other materials.
Yeah, keep it
glass only.
keep it separated if possible. Another sort of important recycling tip for people, and I feel like we don't mention it often enough, is that with the cardboard, you really don't have to strip it of every last bit of tape and staples and shipping labels. That's okay to stay on. The way that paper is recycled is kind of in a water bath processing. That kind of material floats out, and so not to worry about that too much. And the same goes for just regular, junk mail and stationery. You don't have to take every label off for those little glassine windows. It's okay to leave those intact.
So what are some of the most common recycling questions you all get from the public? What are the questions you wish people you could just advertise and say, hey, it's okay, to, for example, separate glass from everything else in the recycling?
Well, if you asked me, I'd say, and this is hard for people to accept because they get really exuberant about recycling. We love that about Fort Collins.
Yeah.
It's just the best community ever. But when in doubt, keep it out.
Okay.
If you're not sure about it, keep it out, because if it turns out that you've made the mistaken assumption that it's something that is recyclable and it goes into the single stream program, it can really downgrade the rest of the materials. It's a contaminant actually, and so if you just really aren't quite sure, just put it in the trash.
Okay.
Well, and one of the questions I actually just got today was how small you have to cut your pieces of cardboard for them to be recyclable at the curb. And for the households that have a recycling cart out front, the best bet is actually just to make sure that cardboard fits loosely in your cart. because when your cart is picked up by the mechanical arm of the trash or recycling truck, actually,
Yeah.
you want that cardboard to be able to dump out easily. If you really wedge it in there, it can't come out. But most of the local recyclers no longer require the actual 2x2 measurement.
Okay.
If you don't have a recycling cart, if you still have the curbside tub, then it's best to just check with your hauler in case they have a model of truck that requires a certain size opening. But it's a good chance if your recycling is being collected in a cart that it's going to be of a size that you don't have to cut your cardboard down quite so small anymore.
Okay, good to
Do you
know.
think many people are still using those little open top boxes anymore?
Well,
or-
if they are, it's important for them to know that they have the option to
Right.
use a recycling cart. As of 2010, every company that provides trash and recycling service to single-family homes, to the residents in the city of Fort Collins, was required to offer a recycling cart. And they're nice, large 64 or 96-gallon carts really help fit more of the recyclables in there. And one of the other major benefits to them is they help prevent your recyclables from blowing out of your cart if it happens to be a windy front range day.
True.
So
Or
people
getting-
can certainly just contact their trash recycling.
Or getting rained on or snowed on.
Yes.
Yeah.
So the materials stay, they're in better condition.
They're
Right.
nice and easy to get to the curb. You don't actually have to lift it up.
Yeah.
They're handy.
That's true. And so one thing that you do, and I'm not sure a lot of people know this, but through the Environmental Services Department at the city, you actually manage the contracts with the haulers, the trash haulers. Is
Well-
that for the recycling efforts?
Well, in the city of Fort Collins, all of the trash and recycling service is provided by the private sector. So the city doesn't contract for that service. It's an individual contract between that home or that business and their trash hauler. But the role that the city plays is a regulatory one. So every trash or recycling company in the community has to have a license. So we do license those companies, and as part of that license, they have to report how much material they're collecting. So that's how we gather our numbers that let us know that we're recycling 64.5% of the material that's disposed of within the community of Fort Collins, meaning we're recycling or composting 64.5%, and the remaining percent is going to the landfill. So the trash haulers have their licenses, and then we also have what we call a pay-as-you-throw ordinance that requires that curbside recycling service is included at no additional charge for anyone who has trash service, and that the bill for their trash service is based on the size of their trash bin. So if you have a trash cart that you don't regularly fill, you can call your trash company and ask for a smaller cart, and you'll save money on your trash bill, but you can still recycle as much material as you'd like for no additional charge. So the
reminder.
city sort of creates that framework, and then the trash haulers provide the service and just determine their actual rates for the service.
Yeah, it's and that's almost a 20-year-old program now, the Pay-as-you-throw program, and it's had remarkable results. So one of the other conditions of the license is that the haulers must provide recycling to the customers who request it. So that's presumably everybody knows that because we can see it. You can drive down the street and realize that just about every trash can out there has also got a recycling bin next to it, and in fact the haulers report to us that the level of participation in Fort Collins is really high. It's about 90 or 95% of the people who receive trash collection services also then make use of the recycling collection service, which is a phenomenally high number when we talk to our counterparts around the country, as is our waste diversion level. So not that we're bragging about it, but it is remarkable how much this community responds to the opportunities to recycle.
Yeah, that's fantastic.
Yeah.
It's a good thing to remember this time of year. So we're almost out of time. Any closing thoughts for either one of you about recycling at the holidays?
Well, it's not holiday specific, but I just also wanted to let folks know that in addition to all the great recycling opportunities that people have at the curb, for residents of apartment complexes or businesses, we also have a program that we call WRAP, which stands for Waste Reduction and Recycling Assistance Program, that is created to help businesses and apartment complexes either start or improve recycling programs. So we have information about that on our website as well, the fcgov.com/recycling. But that program includes free on-site assessments and rebates for locations that are starting a new program, and lots of free educational materials.
Okay, great.
And if anybody has questions, they're welcome to call 221-6600. we have some awfully friendly staff who are glad to talk to people and answer questions and explain things to the best of our ability.
Okay, super. Well, thank you so much, Susie Gordon. Thank you so much, Caroline Mitchell. Appreciate you guys coming on board, and we'll see you next time on Full Circle.